Yeah, you're saying that you're just on a diet of nicotine and sugar these days.
Well, this today particularly. So yeah, you know when you just wake up in the morning and you're like, you just feel a little bit detached from it, or sometimes you just need something to bring you back in. Either it's going to the gym, which sorts you out straight away.
Yeah.
But if you've got that, like I had like a 9 a.m. meeting this morning, so there's no
It's
chance.
not on, is it? Look, we didn't get into the music business for 9 a.m. meetings.
Mate, tell me about it. I now live in North London, like North London as well. And so it takes me a long time to get anywhere. So a 9 a.m. meeting is horrible, mate. It really is horrible. And I'm not sure whether they get the best out of me either, to be honest.
No, I don't. You get the most honesty out of someone at a 9 a.m. meeting, don't you?
Mate, it's funny you say that. Like, you know that state of mind that you get to where it's almost like a sweet spot when you go beyond tiredness?
Yeah. The sort of delirium.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was doing funnily enough, I was doing a podcast the other day with the Next Men.
Yeah.
And it was Toby and I from the band that were doing it. And Toby hadn't slept. He literally hadn't slept. He'd been away for the weekend, had to go into the studio 10 o'clock the night before, worked all the way through. And then I was seeing him at 4 o'clock the next day and he hadn't slept at all. And it's just perfect, mate. You can just go. There's no limits to the imagination, you know what I mean? I'm willing to accept anything.
Yeah, the creativity kind of runs high at that point in a strange way.
There's a sweet spot, basically.
Do you hear of Salvador Dali having his sort of finding his creativity by massive sleep deprivation and being in a bath for a long time?
No way, that's amazing.
Indulging himself and that sort of thing until the madness flowed out of him, basically.
What do you mean indulging himself?
Well, we don't want to get into the finer details of Dali's creative practice. He's a unique thinker.
Mate, that's quite good, actually. And it sort of brings everything together a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure like my walls and my environment would start melting if I didn't sleep as well.
Yeah, well, apparently that it really does happen. Like if your brain doesn't sleep, eventually your dream state actually starts to merge into your waking state. Oh, wow. It happens surprisingly quickly. It can happen within not sleeping for 24 hours. But once you go beyond a sort of 36-hour period, you start to hallucinate. You have sound hallucinations. And the longer you push it, the more intense the hallucinations become.
It's kind of like free tripping.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, it's a lot. It's like it's not free in the sense that you've got to work pretty hard for it by staying up.
Yeah, it's true. It's definitely got a cost, an emotional cost, and then also
psychological cost as well. I feel. Yeah.
And I think you can like eat your own feces as well, and that. You trip off that, if I'm right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't want to lower the tone, but I'm just saying.
We're getting into it hard already. Yeah. There's a book I was reading a while ago called something Routines, and it's about someone has basically catalogued the daily routines and the sort of creative routines of very famous creative people.
Right.
And they're said... waking up early seems to be quite a big one, particularly for writers.
The key.
Well, it seems to be very prevalent with writers to wake up very early when no one else is up and no one's going to bother them.
Yeah.
And do a load of writing and then get on with the day from a normal time. But it seems like for musicians, it's the opposite. Well, everyone seems to sleep in and stay up really, really late instead.
Yeah. Well, I think that's just, that's through like terrible habits rather than anything like particularly planned. Mind you, my mum's a painter and she, when she was a full-time mum and there were all of us in the house, like she would find that time when we'd all gone to bed being her creative time.
Right.
So the moment that all the kids had just stopped making such like horrific sort of, noises in a sanctuary, she'd then come alive creatively and she'd do all of her best paintings and everything. Which I'm really into. And I tell you what, actually, the waking up early thing though for writing is mental. Like the best. I wrote this story when I was younger, and I remember it was based on a poem that I wrote when I literally woke up in the middle of the night at like 4 a.m. I had this poem in my head. And I woke up and I just sort of scrabbled for a piece of paper and I wrote the whole thing down and then went back to sleep. and woke up in the morning and saw it, and I was like, that's wicked. I'm going to write a story about it.
Did you remember when you woke up? Did you remember it? Was it all sort of new to you at the time?
It was almost like it was kind of like a dream.
Yeah.
But I'd written it down, so I wasn't going to forget it in the next sort of 2 minutes.
Nice. How old were you when?
I was young. I was like 15.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Have you still got it?
I think I'll probably have it somewhere. Yeah, I actually ended up because I was really dyslexic when I think I still am. It's not so prevalent anymore.
You probably just don't write as much, and you've got spell check there the whole time.
Yeah, well, it just kind of like it's got loads of. I'm not sure. I think it's just the different like times that you develop almost sometimes rather than it not being possible. Anyway, so I never really did particularly well at English. Like essays, they just took a while for me to get my head around, and I sometimes never got my head around it. But this one piece I wrote for my GCSE English, and it was based on that poem and then a story. It was ultimately about this girl,
right?
Yeah, who'd been messing me about.
Yeah,
and
school poetry has a tendency to often be about girls.
Yeah, as does a lot of creativity. I mean, that's the raw sort of emotion coming out of me.
Yeah.
And then I wrote this story that was kind of like this weird little reality that we created together.
Mm-hmm.
So it was about me. Oh, sorry. So I don't know. It's a bit weird, right? So we had like a mechanic to be able to talk about stuff, like emotional stuff, where it wasn't so easy to do it. Because we were young, right? So we maybe didn't quite have the tools or the experience to be able to express ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so we used these like two little characters called Polly and Jeff.
Right,
these
okay.
tiny little people. Yeah. These just tiny little people. And then when we were like liberated, we could talk about exactly how we felt because we both knew what was going on. But
it makes a lot of sense, yeah.
And so then I based a story on that, and then we went out. And so it was like in America. And I was Jeff and she was Polly and she was like on Broadway, and then I was somewhere else and I saw her and then I met her and then ultimately she did me over.
Oh.
Which is what happened.
Yeah, that's sad. It's the sort of boy meets girl, girl meets boy, girl screws over boy bases entire pop career around it.
Yeah, boy can never
truly love again.
Yeah, I laugh, but
laugh through the tears. Oh, Polly.
I can't believe I've let that out. I hope not too many people are watching.
Right, but these, I must say, these stories are not based on real people. We've changed the names to protect the innocent.
Well, we have, but they were the real names I used. So right. It's pretty deep, mate.
They're real fictional names.
Yeah, there's not many people I've told that story to.
Wow. Well, now you've told it to probably a few thousand, so it's out there. It's on record.
Oh, good vibes. I'm just going to share it.
Do a share. Yeah. Go on. That's good. I think I've shared it on my high ranking page if it's worked, which would be nice. So how old were you when you first kind of got in? Wait, what was the first music you got interested in? Like properly, or sort of, I don't know, enthusiastic about, passionate about?
My dad's a conductor.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So when I was really young, I was singing. Maybe at 8 years old, I was singing loads in choirs and stuff like that. And I don't know, if I'm honest, I think it didn't really excite me a great deal. It just was something that I did and that was surrounding me. And if anything, it kind of jarred me out a little bit and stopped me being able to go and play football with my mates.
Really?
And then, but then it got to a stage where I was like, I actually like pretty much all the good things that have happened to me in life have come out of singing. And I was like, oh, cool. So I can kind of do this. And I suppose just had it as part of me rather than necessarily going out and searching it. Mm-hmm. And then I discovered drum and bass. And then my natural sort of development was to become a jungle MC. And so that was so I was going to go and be an opera singer. So like I had the choice to go into music college or to uni. And at that point that I was having the choice, I was also discovering The End in London and Fabric and the Stratford Rex and the Sanctuary in Milton Keynes and Concord 2 and the BN1 Club and all that stuff. And
you go back BN1 days?
Yeah,
bloody hell!
My first gig ever was John B at the BN1. It was amazing.
Wow,
absolutely amazing. Yeah. I was a bit too young to really get. I think I was like 15, maybe just 15.
So BN1 is the one at the bottom of Preston Street.
Yeah.
There was then various things after. There was maybe the engine rooms for a bit and a few other bits and bobs.
Brighton was wicked, man.
Yeah, I was confusing it with the Babylon Lounge for a second.
Yeah,
that was a ropey club.
The Funky Buddha Lounge.
Funky Buddha Lounge was good, man. That was like the home of New School Breaks.
Yeah.
For the small period of time that New School Breaks was a thing.
It was huge.
But what a thing!
Yeah, exactly. Man, I used to love it down there in Brighton. There's so many. I've got so many memories of going underneath the pier and waiting there for like 4 or 5 hours for the first train to
Oh, really?
Yes, I got kicked out.
Yeah, just go and sit on the beach until the first train. Yeah, that was a thing.
Yeah.
Like all the Haywards Heath lot used to do that.
Yeah, it was time, mate. Absolutely amazing. In fact, I remember this one night where I don't know if I was pretty spannered and I gone. I don't know if it was by myself or with my mate. I was probably with a friend, and we were walking around Brighton for like hours because we got kicked out. I think we literally went to the Volks, which is right on the seafront in Brighton for those that haven't been, and it's a cool club. I think I was quite young, and then we left it, finished at like 2, and the first train was at about 6 or something.
Yeah,
and so we had 4 hours sort of mooching about, and as we were walking around, like I completely spun out. Because I thought someone was following us. So like all the way through, I was like, this is mad, mate. Someone is literally following me. And it was kind of like when I stopped walking, I stopped hearing it. And then I'd walk again and I'd hear someone following me. So I was spinning out. And I wasn't so I wasn't like, you know what I mean? I wasn't beyond the point of like basic cognitive sort of skill. And then it took me to the end of those 4 hours to get on a train. And I looked down and I realised that my like bubble in my Nike trainers had burst, and so I had this little like every single step I was taking.
Oh my god!
But it took me such a long time to work it out. I was like, Jesus, who is this weirdo chasing me around Brighton?
That's hilarious. I thought there was going to be some sort of metaphor attached to it. Maybe, it was your past that you could never escape from. And the more you ran, the closer it got. Just thinking about Polly and it's just...
Yeah, exactly. Oh, mate, no, don't bring that up. So, yeah, I think it was drum and bass really that did it for me.
Good.
Yeah. And I didn't realise it at the time, but now, I suppose having a bit of a wider knowledge of electronic genres, I realised why it did. And, obviously it's the tempo, but it's the fact that with that repetitive beat, if you're into the beat itself, then you just got this complete freedom on top of it. And so actually it's any music in the world. I've had this conversation with people before, whether house music is even a genre. Can you even define house music? Because actually, it's every single type of music in the world can be house music, as long as it's got a beat to it. And it's kind of the same with drum and bass in jungle, isn't it? Obviously it's a different pace, but it's just there's so much variety in there, whilst it's still feeling safe. Yeah.
I mean, there was a period when suddenly metal drum and bass was a big thing, and people did. I mean, there was it Concord Dawn that did that Slayer Rain in Blood version, and then that spawned, and then obviously like
Loxy
Pendulum
and all those guys.
And then obviously
that Concord Dawn tune. Please don't go.
Morning Light.
Morning.
Oh yeah,
it was that and Messiah. It was that and Conflict Messiah that really did it for me when I was younger.
Oh, man, I don't see how someone could go to like you say Legends of the Dark Black at Concord 2 and hear Messiah with that intro, then into the huge race with the big and not just be utterly blown apart. It is,
but also the beautiful thing about that music at that time in my life was that I realised. Well, actually, I didn't realise, but now I realise that it's the social side of it.
Yeah.
because we spend our upbringings in quite closed communities, don't we? Even if you're in a big city, it's still generally a bit of a closed community. So you got your home life, you got your school life, and then that's kind of it, isn't it? And you're thrust into these groups. And then for me, and I think this is kind of consistent from what I've learned, there gets a certain stage where you're like, oh, right, I can actually choose what I do and where I go. And then with music being at the heart of that, and it being the kind of the decision maker, the driving force behind that choice, it's just like, it defines you. It literally defines you. It made me an adult, I think, to a certain degree. Suddenly I was like, cool, I can be myself. I can express the thoughts that come into my head rather than tapering them based on my environment. And, if I get along with someone, great. If I don't, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because it's millions more people.
Yeah, and it's even if you just go straight from college to university and stuff, the people that you mix with at university are same age. There's going to be a subtle variation in sort of intelligence level. We've all made it into university, so and you're going to have roughly, not totally dissimilar backgrounds.
Yeah,
but
courses.
If you then decide to go to the Volks, you've got the most diverse group of people, ages, like people from all different backgrounds in all different states of mind.
It's so important.
And you're just like, oh wow, but everyone's coming together under the umbrella of going out to a rave, whether it's drum and bass or garage or techno or whatever.
It's really important, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if you think about that and then kind of like cut that against or put that up against this like horribly negative attitude towards raving and going out clubbing, and as in like in London there seems like there's almost like an aggression towards clubs and towards venues and towards festivals and sound levels, and having lived in London for the last 8 years, I kind of get it, as in if you're not in that world at all, I get how it would be pretty jarring and how it could negatively impact your relaxing time or the cost of your house or whatever. But then if you actually break it down and you say, Jesus, look how important it is. Literally look how important it is. What else is there for people? How do we sort of define ourselves? How do we expand our like social experience? It has to happen somehow.
Dance music is such an integral part of British culture.
Big time.
Like from the rave scene to clubs now. I mean, it's, there are some amazing clubs in the rest of the world, no doubt. But this sort of, the club scenes like, your Fabrics, your, even when you go proper like Bagleys and things like that, they were grotty rave holes, but they had a real magic to them. It's you couldn't build a new club and have it have.
It's absolutely magical. I kind of feel like it's the promoter's responsibility to be able to create those environments. Yeah. And it is possible. There are places, but I always just get really perturbed and like, just kind of like, what are you guys even talking about? Like, people, when you hear debates about like us being scared of youth movements and not allowing them to space and not allowing them the space, not and kind of like trying to micromanage people's upbringings. It's just like, man, we got it all wrong, man. We got to let people live. We got to let people kind of make those mistakes. We got to let people make those decisions because you can't really micromanage it. Like my older sister, who's 10 years older than me, she used to be a dancer for Rat Pack.
Right, wow.
Yeah.
God, I bet she's seen some sights.
Yeah, so like when I was younger, so when I was like 8 or 9, she was coming back from weekend raves. So she'd be going out on the Thursday and coming back on the Monday morning. Right. And like the stories she'd tell me were amazing, and I was really captivated by it. And I never went to any of those like big illegal raves. I was too young at that time. So I went to one in Acton Town, at an old cinema, which was decent. But what I realised was you get this kind of freedom from that I think that all clubs and festivals are almost trying to just recreate that freedom that naturally existed within that idea of just like...
Particularly a festival.
Yeah.
Like, it's like... I was talking to James, who runs Noisily, and about how a festival is kind of like its own mini society.
Yeah.
Little microcosm where it's sort of it's as if it has its own rules and laws outside of normal side. And it's a little bit like the world has ended and we're starting everything again. And like we're trying to do our best with what we've got. You know, well, I've only got a tent this, but we've got some sound systems. And we've got a lot of enthusiasm.
It's kind of like going on. It's like the idea of going on holiday, isn't it? So it's just completely separating yourself.
Yeah.
From
but the rules don't apply
at
festivals, and that's why they're so magic.
Yeah, man.
It's like, you could go and see any of the artists that are playing in a club and everything, but to combine them and then to also see all the ones that you've never heard of before, you would never normally go to see.
It's the social side.
And the social side of it, of all those people that are all, you know, there for the common goal of all being like, that's our weekend of freedom. In a year, like we've waited for ages for this. We bought a ticket last year.
It means so much more when you're an adult and you've got full-time work and, you know, or if you've got a family or
ship
something
the kids off for the weekend. They're gone to grand.
And then you're literally just like, right, okay, I'm not gonna decide what I'm gonna do for 3 days.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go with it. And that's really important for the head.
Yeah.
You know, it really it lets you escape, you know, it gives you change is as good as another day, mate. You know, change your like state of mind.
Yeah.
And you can just you can reset yourself. It's so important.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just 100%. And getting into the swing of things with a foolish outfit.
Yeah.
Getting your face painted. You know.
Falling in a mound of glitter.
Yeah. It's like, they threw it all over me and I don't know quite how it happened. You're on the floor. You've got mud in your eyes. Get up.
Oh man, I haven't been to a festival in too long. I mean, we play a lot of festivals, and so I get a certain fix of it. We've already played like 6 festivals this year, but actually going to one, I really want to find one to go to.
Go back to proper punter level festival.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, literally, it's such a different experience if you don't.
Yeah.
And I remember I had a couple of good years at Secret Garden Party, and I really enjoyed that. I really, really enjoyed it. And I know it got a little bit faddy, and the audience sort of changed and got almost too big to be able to maintain the what was so special about it. But yeah, I really, really just sunk into that environment on a couple of years, and it just it's beautiful, mate.
A friend of mine got trench foot at Secret Garden once.
Yeah. I can maybe guess the year it was.
Yeah.
One of the penultimate years.
Yeah, that one was. It was one where the weather was nice, but it had rained quite a lot just a few days before.
Right.
But that one that was a complete washout was harrowing. I was playing there on the first night, and it was good in that everyone was in the tents.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was playing quite an early set, like 6 or 7 in the evening. So normally the tents don't start filling up until it's dark generally.
Yeah,
then suddenly everyone goes there. But man, it was just the most savage weather. So everyone was like just rammed in, and that was great. And then I stepped outside the tent and went, "Oh, I'm going home. I can't do this."
Get me out of here.
Yeah.
I think that is the same year that I turned up on the Sunday. We'd had a mad weekend of shows. We'd played like a French festival, and then we played in Holland. Oh no, we played UK, France, UK, Holland, and then back to the UK. And so we came back to play Secret Garden Party on the Sunday, like late afternoon on the main stage. And when we arrived there, it was literally like a war zone.
Yeah,
like
Somme.
Yeah, and a really good friend of mine is like he was the creative director, and so he does all the design, he did all the art direction, and like created himself, blood, sweat, and tears, made all of the beautiful things. And he came down to meet me when I'd arrived. I could let him know I was on site, and I walked up to where the main stage was. At the back there was that slope that went up, and it was just in front of the long bar. And we went up there, and I just had my arm over his shoulder. And we looked at it. It was literally like the Battle of the Somme, mate. It was horrific.
Yeah.
It was horrific, and everything was destroyed. And the guy was just himself. He was like a living example of the site,
God, it must be rough. Like, you've worked for a year, and all the consecutive years building up to that year. You've put your heart and soul into it for a year, and you always know that it's a risk. It's England, for God's sake. Like,
mate, I had that on site out in Croatia last year as well.
Really?
It's really tough. Yeah. we had these like electrical storms that came through, and so we had to close stages and things like that, and so it meant that like a lot of artists that we booked never even got a chance to play.
Oh really? Oh, what a shame.
And so like I remember at Dimensions we had Theo Parrish all night long, and he played literally to like 20 people for 20 minutes and then stopped, and then 20 minutes, and then so it was really horrible. And then a Ghostface Killer as well, Outlook, we got over, and he was also he didn't play. His hype man went on for a couple of tunes standardly, and then the lightning came down.
I bet storms get pretty narky out there.
Yeah, because it's hot. So if it pops, it pops. You know.
Yeah.
That's the only real like electrical storm we've had in 11 years of being there. So
it's been 11 years now.
This is going into our 11th year.
Wow.
So I'm anticipating this year not having it.
Were you in it from the beginning?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What's your official role in it?
I'm the creative director and head of partnerships.
Right, nice.
So, but we will just sort of molded into the people that we were. I mean, we started. So, like, I was from going raving in Brighton as a sort of 16, 17-year-old. I then went to uni in Leeds, and when I was at Leeds, that's where we started the band, and I started promoting there as well. So I was running a night called Vagabonds.
Okay. What, the hip hop one?
We had hip hop, yeah, but it was kind of like, it was sort of like fairly upfront hip hop, drum and bass, dubstep, garage, dub. And so like I remember I pulled out an old flyer, one of our first events the other day, and it was like Gentleman's Dub Club, Submotion Orchestra, what was his name? Well, Ruxpin was playing. That's Ramadan Man, who's Pearson Sound now.
Yeah.
And then we had, what's his name? He ended up changing. He was called Rusk.
Right.
And he was playing dub techno, and then he became Rusko.
Right.
So literally we had all of those artists on one lineup. I think it probably cost us 500 quid to put the lineup together. It was a busy night, but that was the kind of vibe. It was like Leeds was just an amazing like spot for new music at the time. It was wicked. It's like an amazing house party scene, and loads of, obviously you got like, there's like 120,000 students in Leeds at any one time.
Really? That many?
There's 3 universities.
I've done some good shows in Leeds. Mint Club was
wicked.
Yeah. They had some crazy smoke machines, like sort of they were like the sort of cannons, the CO2 cannons.
Just get out.
And I think it was Joker was using it too much. Someone had an asthma attack, and that's good.
Oh no!
Got taken out.
What, Joker had control of the CO2?
Yeah, and that's a foolish move.
He certainly is. Yeah, mate. I went to. Have you ever been to Amnesia?
Not what, in Ibiza?
Yeah.
No.
I'd never been to Ibiza until last September or October.
Right.
And we were invited out with Dimensions. We like won an award at the DJ Awards there.
Nice.
And so I went out with Joe, one of my partners, and literally like I went to Amnesia, and I was there for a few days, and I'd met someone there, and I was kissing her on the dance floor, right? And we didn't know it, and I was pretty hammered at the time, but we were right in front of one of those massive like things. And then so I was there kind of in it, like in my own little world, and then this thing came on. Literally, like I nearly got knocked off my feet. I was just like, just desperately. I was like, actually, this is pretty cool. It's a bit of a rush. And so I just stayed there, just sat in that own little world. I'm definitely waiting for the next one.
Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as good the next one, and it was pretty unhealthy, I think.
Yeah, it can't be good for you, can you?
Stuffing it down your throat.
Yeah, maybe you've got 4 or 5 goes before you keel over.
Yeah, but that was a mental experience. So, have you ever been out to Ibiza?
No.
It's not really the style of music, is it? Like,
No,
when I was growing up, it wasn't a thing.
I've only in the last few years at all got into house and techno.
Yeah.
Like, well, I mean, I've lived in Berlin. I lived in Berlin for 4 years, so it's
wicked.
basically there's no choice.
Yeah, of course.
And if you're a producer in Berlin and you don't start making techno within 6 months, they come kick you out. So come on, let's just have a look at your techno. Oh no, this is not analog enough. I'm sorry,
that's
no.
bloody terrible, mate. We're revoking your visa.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, you have to go. Come on, you and your Brexit buddies. That's the worst German accent I've ever heard.
You're all right, mate. I wasn't going to go there. I got a bit of German in me. I didn't want to insult her. So we were up in Leeds, and then that was where the festival was born out of. So it was New Bohemia, which I also was running for a year, every Friday, and then Vagabonds, and then Subdub came together, and we started. So there's 5 of us actually that started it in 2008.
Right, and when did Dimensions start?
2012, I believe. Yeah.
So Outlook is first, and then Dimensions basically straight after in the same place.
We got it the other way around now. It used to be like that, but we realised that it's probably better to start small and get big rather than start really big and then get small. You should just batter yourself.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's in the same. It's in the same place. Yeah, we kind of wanted to. We didn't want Outlook to get any bigger, but it was getting really popular. It was selling out every year, and then we were like, it's got a real vibe at this sort of level of people. You know, it's about 12,000 people. It's like, it's a really good vibe. And I've been to a lot of festivals which have kind of gone from quite nice little sort of nugget experiences to boutiquey sort of vibe to really big, and you've got to be really careful about that. Bigger isn't better.
Well, that was I think that's what ultimately caused the death of Secret Garden.
Yeah, plain.
You know, it stopped being a garden party, and it became it became like, you know, a more, I don't know. It very much had a different crowd in the.
Well, it's scary.
The last.
It's very scary as a promoter to get bigger, because if you know, you're always sort of riding waves. You don't really control your environment, so you got to make a call as a programmer. You're like, what do I want to do? Do I want to kind of like chase like YouTube hits and radio plays and big artists who are going to definitely sell me tickets? And if that's your route to take, then you have to be quite transient with your style, because the world is constantly changing. Music's constantly evolving. And so you either buy into that and you kind of play the model of a few mainstream festivals and the way that they do it, or you're like, actually, you know, I'm just going to stand by what I do, and I'm going to put the artists that I want, and whatever happens out there is going to massively affect me, but I can't really manipulate myself to fit into the thing, because we're just doing what we're doing. Yeah. And so there's always that call. So you just like, if you get to a certain amount of people and the tickets aren't selling on the artists that you want to do, and you don't really have a choice. You're like, oh, I have to go and spend 50 grand on a, you know, DJ to come and sell me tickets, and then that just messes with it. It just really, really blow the dynamic.
It's tricky. I mean, it's putting on festivals is a really tough way to make a living.
Yeah, it's actually a nightmare.
It's either a tough way to break even. Like it's
just a big risk, essentially. I was talking about this with a colleague of mine, Dave, yesterday. We tuned in. Big up, Dave. He's got a really nice analogy for it. He's like, look, what you do is you dig a hole. You dig a hole. It's up to you how deep you dig that hole, and then you got to fill it in again. And you just got to hope that it gets back up to the same level so that you can do it again the next year. Or ideally have a tiny little molehill on the top. But essentially, it's a massive risk, and the promoters, they always take the heat. They always take the fall. It's up to you. It's your risk. You know, you just got to go in and say it. For us out in Croatia, do you remember a few years ago the Icelandic volcano? Yep. So that was kind of through July and into some of August, and it was the whole of Europe was a no-fly zone, wasn't it? Yeah. And so for us, if that had gone over to our festival or been at the same time as our festivals, we'd have had maybe 20% of the artists there, and 25-30% of the ticket buyers would have been able to get there as well. Mass
refunds, or presumably
that would have been done, man, because that's force majeure. You know, you can't get really insurance to completely cover that.
Yeah, I mean that really is the definition of the act of God, isn't it?
Yeah. It was horrible. The Icelandic gods.
Yeah, Thor's out there lobbing his hammer down into a volcano, ruining festivals.
Yeah, exactly. Ruining music for everyone.
God, I mean, it certainly ruined Twitter for a little while. All it was DJs complaining that they couldn't get planes.
Yeah, so you take the heat. Unfortunately, it's a blow. But the reward isn't financial.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't. That shouldn't be like the focus. Otherwise, you end up with V Festival.
Well, you don't. You end up with Rise Festival, which it is now.
Is that what it's called now?
Yeah, V Festival closed down, and because Live Nation bought V, and then they did it for I think one more year, and then they closed it and they reopened called Rise,
right,
with a Z.
Oh, with the Z, doing the Z thing, are they?
But it's a really good friend of mine that runs it, so I'm afraid I can't. Yeah, but yeah, exactly. You got the vibe with like any sort of events that you do. I don't know. I suppose it's the same across the board of life, isn't it? Like it's easy to get so immersed and involved in what you do that you forget that you're meant to be enjoying it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And you've got to check yourself on that constantly. Yeah, because I think, most people sort of hand on heart, if they were in what they were in just to make money, they probably wouldn't be in music.
No, if I only wanted to make money, I would become a corporate lawyer.
Yeah.
And go around charging £1,000 an hour for I don't know, helping some big company wheedle their way out of paying some tax.
Exactly.
And if you wanted to, if you're only about that bottom line and stacking that paper, and you didn't, but you would be miserable. You would be so miserable. It's like these CEOs of these huge financial companies. That looks like the worst job in the world, working 80-hour weeks of really, really brutal corporate work.
Yeah, I reckon some people would probably enjoy it.
I reckon my suspicion is that the actual work itself is not the bit that is enjoyed, but the sort of power or the kind of reputation or the sort of over other people is what is the most attractive thing. It's the status of it.
Big time.
But when are you going to spend all that money, those millions that you're earning when you're working 80 hours a week or something? What are you going to do with all that?
I tell you, I think the people that got it right were a few people I know who I've met who went and caned it, did it properly, worked in the city or in as a lawyer for 5 or 6 years or up until 28, 29, 30, and then they stopped that once they got their house and their and then they got into being a musician.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I can
that's
see
a pretty good way around.
Buy yourself a huge studio and then go, right.
Yeah.
So, where's all that creativity I thought was just going to start streaming out?
Well, yeah, blatantly. Yeah, all the gear, no idea.
Yeah.
But I think that is the way. That is probably the most sensible way to do it, because it is hard as a musician to there's a lot of things that are, whenever you do something for a long period of time, there's your life and essentially your life has to sit parallel to what everything's got to line up, hasn't it? And if anything is wonky, then it kind of messes with it. So I'm talking about people's mental space, their aspirations in life, their pressures that come down from their family and all these things are so massively impacting on you and your feeling and your sensibility and the way that you fit into the world. And so I think that as a musician, it is very, very difficult to sometimes keep holding on to that dream and keep having that faith that what you're doing is right for you.
Yeah.
And of course you've got to be enjoying it.
Yeah, I think if the stress of getting the bills paid can, I think, quite drastically sometimes impact on your ability to be creative if you're worried and stressed out about things. I would be very interested to see what happens if we do end up getting to a point whereby we end up with universal basic income, where everyone gets free money every month to just, and go, all right, well, I don't have to worry about rent and bills anymore. All right, then, well, what are we going to do now? Okay, maybe I can just sit there and just make whatever I want. And
it's sort of like living in France.
So it's like living in France. I know their medical care is top notch.
If you play like, don't quote me on it, I think if you play like 20 shows a year, you get given you can get a salary as a musician.
What, from
the government? Yeah, it's mad.
What?
Yeah, literally. So
do you have to play very traditional French music or something for her?
Well, they've just got a system in place which is kind of also meant to support French music. So I think the radio stations have to play something crazy, like 75% of all their music has to come from France.
Right.
And then, so it's kind of like feeding itself, you know, in terms of that investment. And then it's, you know, it's making sure that investment keeps going back into the same place. And then the venues themselves, they're all heavily, heavily subsidized. It's crazy. Whenever we go over and play in France, it's a bit of an unknown to us every time. So as in, like, I'll just get in the van. I'll be like, right, where to next? And then I'll maybe fall asleep and wake up, and you're in some mad little village in Brittany, and you go and play a show, and it's this crazy venue where they've got like 30 people working, and everyone eats together and like enjoys themselves. Loads of people working. Get to the show, and 25 people turn up.
This is a weird thing. I've noticed this in France.
And then the next night, you'll go somewhere and it's absolutely rammed. There's like 500 people, and it's like there's for us as a band, it's really hard to know what we're walking into.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There's loads of positives about it, and there's some drawbacks. You know, there's a big difference between the music being created. Sorry, there's a big difference between it almost being. It's kind of like a capitalist versus like a socialist model within music, isn't it? As in, like in the UK, it's very much a, you know, you survive or die by your own sword.
Yeah, it's
up to you, isn't it? No one else is going to do it for you. But then equally, let's look at the French system. Maybe there's more support for musicians. There's more fairness and equality within those sort of businesses and those structures. But the music is on a very different sort of scale. It's not being judged on the music. It's being judged on the effort.
Yeah, is it being judged on the effort though?
Yeah, because if you got to get out of bed and do 20 shows a year.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess so. If you do have to make that initial like sort of outlay of
20 out of 365.
Yeah. No, I guess if you have it at a setup whereby if you can show that you are putting in X amount of effort, we will help.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which I
can get that.
I literally cannot argue with it.
Yeah, no, I can certainly see the appeal of that.
So many people that I know have had to like heavily impact their own sort of creative freedom to earn money.
Yeah.
Which, again, you can't say is a wholly bad thing, but it's just a very different, you know, different set of pressures.
But then, if radio stations they had to pay 75% French music, what if it's all crap?
Well, we can't really say that for lots of reasons. But, I don't know. It's really hard to say. I mean, is there a... Because
it's not just creative freedom, then.
It's not just France. Oh, so the radio... Yeah. The actual radio hosts don't have creative freedom, and the radio stations don't. Yeah, but also there's different models all over the place. So it's very similar to that in Scandinavia as well. I used to do some like theatre, and I remember finding out about this in Poland. I think it's the same as well. If you do a certain amount of shows as a practitioner or as an actor, they'll pay you a salary, and they'll pay you like €1,000 per show that you do. I remember I met a guy who was doing a one-man show in Edinburgh, and he was amazing at what he did, and so it sold out every time. But he was telling me, I think he was a friend of an old school friend, and he was saying to me that he got paid for every show that he did, and in Edinburgh he did 2 shows a day consecutive for 30 days in a row.
What, they paid him $1,000 a show?
I think it was about €1,000 a show, yeah. And so he was absolutely raking it off the Polish government, and he was in Edinburgh commercially selling tickets for his own show as well.
That seems like an absurd amount of money, though. Surely that's not
It's
fair, is it?
It's unbelievable, yeah.
Yeah, that money's got to come from somewhere.
I mean, he didn't then go on and keep doing that for the year. So maybe that's it. That's like
He's on a yacht now.
Mate, there's not many people in fear that are creeping that hard.
No, he's balling out of control.
Yeah, it was crazy. But I don't know. So it's like, do we support the arts in this country in the right way?
No,
we don't.
Is the long and short of it. No, the Tories have consistently cut arts funding for.
So I can't look at any external system in a negative way if they're supporting young people, because at the heart of what I genuinely believe is that young people have to engage their creative minds.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean they're going to go on and be a musician. That means that they're going to be able to think for themselves. They're going to be able to integrate into sort of processes and thought processes and bring some level of creativity and unique value to what they do.
They need the opportunity to find out whether or not they want to do it.
Definitely.
And they need the opportunity to engage their creative brain and to engage themselves physically in activities that, I think there needs to be, much more just general movement for kids.
Big time.
Honestly, I'm going to go out on a limb and imagine you were fairly similar to me at school, which was like, oh yeah, I'll just sit on this chair for 6
I used to be a girl.
I'll just sit on this chair for 6 hours and behave myself and not mess around. Oh yeah, nice one.
I was thinking about the funniest possible thing to say every stage.
Yeah, something like how can I make this exceedingly dull part of life more fun? Right, well, I'll just mess around. That's much more fun than
big time.
To do this. And
I went to quite a different school, actually.
Really?
I went to a very different type of school, actually. It was a Rudolf Steiner school.
Okay, yeah.
And so I went to 2 schools.
Yeah.
I went to the one that I was talking about earlier, but then it was called Michael Hall in Forest
Grove.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a Steiner school. So we would be out there like 2 times a week. We had a 2-hour walk, like booked in. Every day we'd start the day and we'd do it was called main lessons. So we'd be doing 20 minutes of singing, 20 minutes of storytelling, 20 minutes of movement, and I think that it's a really
I'd have got on with that a lot better, definitely.
And it's really valuable. I mean, but I got to a certain stage where my parents were like, right, I don't think he's doing anything really, so we're gonna have to try and get a bit more serious with him.
Yeah.
And then they threw me into a school which was militant, and so they tied me down, you know what I mean? But I think at a young age, I mean, I've been a teacher. I was a teacher for 4 years, and I now run a not-for-profit in Hackney, which is working with young people teaching music.
Great.
And so I love it, and I've seen lots of different environments for education. Lots of different educational environments, and the defining factors for a lot of students, they are you've got to do right by them individually, and it's not a one size fits all. If you're not gonna sit in a classroom and do trigonometry for 2 hours, then you shouldn't be there. I think you should have the ability to, be doing something which is more. I've got some pretty big ideas.
Or at least not be demonized for.
That's horrible.
For clearly not, being able to fit in with that model of education.
And it's not based on the human being. So, like what I said earlier about dyslexia, right? So when I was 16, I couldn't write an essay. But when I was at uni, I could write an essay, and I think I could do it all right. I remember getting to uni and doing a project that I really enjoyed, and I suddenly got 85% or something at first and I was like, that's the best I've ever done in this, and I haven't worked any harder or anything like that. But it's just because I was being engaged in the right way. I was doing something I wanted to write about. There was
that's it.
There was something genuinely captivating about the process for me. And so, I think that this idea of we all develop at very different stages, and to fit everyone into a box. I mean, the requirements for 6-year-olds is you've got to be able to spell like 600 words that fit into this certain sort of like set of developments as a yearner. And so if you can't do that by that stage, or if you can't do your SATs or your 11 plus at that age to the right standard, that doesn't mean you're not going to be able to be a thinker. That doesn't mean that. It just means that you're developing at a different stage. And then if you also put in that whole idea of, well, I mean, one of the schools I taught at was, in fact, with our mutual friend Kieran was teaching there as well. Big up G-Man. There's this whole reality for people which is completely unique for them. And so let's say, for example, you don't have a home life which allows you to sleep at night. So you turn up to school, you're not slept at all.
Yeah. Hungry probably as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you've not had breakfast. Yeah.
Now, when you get into school, to expect you to then sit down and conform, and if you don't conform, to treat you like you're, you know what I mean, really unruly, kick you out, throw you to a Peru, do you know what I mean, get into juvenile detention centre, like all of these things that happen because we're sort of squeezing people, you know, and trying to mould them into something that actually maybe fundamentally, because of their environment and because of who they are, they're not going to be able to fit into. So yeah, I feel really sad actually about our education system, and I feel like the sort of detachment from the creative industries is actually, for the long term, like, you know, sanity of our nation and for our young people growing up, I think it's really, really worrying. And you know, I really, really do. Because if you're not given the opportunity to express yourself in any way at all, then what are you going to do?
And to find something that you're good at. Like, I think there are a lot of people that never find something that they're good at. And to have that thing that you can be satisfied with your achievements of, and to have something that you can work on and you can get into that flow state of where the rest of the world falls away, time is arbitrary, and you're just totally focused 100% on that thing you do. Relevant, it doesn't have to be music, it could be anything. It could be playing a sport, it could be a martial art, it could be doing painting, it could be, but that, you know, you will have that playing shows or writing music or everything. But to, you know, never even really get the opportunity to find out whether or not there's something like that you can get into is it's a real tragedy.
Massive part of growing.
And the lack of sleep is an enormous factor in how well kids perform at school.
It's the first stage.
Like, if you're getting less than 7 hours sleep, I don't know if you listen to, there's a Joe Rogan podcast with a guy who's a sleep scientist. He's just written a book called Why We Sleep.
Yeah.
And he said that if you get less than 7 hours, your cognitive ability is at least 25% impaired.
Wow.
And usually around 30%. And there's loads of people who are like, oh, I can survive on 6 hours sleep, I can survive on 5 hours sleep, you know, and I'm fine. They're saying that the people who can work at the same cognitive ability at less than 7 hours sleep, as a percentage, rounded up to a whole number, is 0. So, like, people are really, really bad at judging whether or not they're good without sleep. Like, there's a very small amount of people that have a particular gene mutation, which means that they genuinely are good with only like 5 hours sleep. The chances of you being one of those people is actually less than getting struck by lightning.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's insane. And to think that, you know, you can have kids that are on 5 hours sleep that are eating terrible food and expect them to sit still in class, full of sugar. Expect them to sit still for 6 hours and go, well, he's behaving really badly. He's crap. Let's just stick him in a room on his own or something.
Well, let's write him off forever.
Yeah, write him off, yeah.
Or her.
Yeah.
You know that, you know Maslow and his hierarchy of needs, right? That's what he says.
Yeah.
He says you got to go through all of these stages before you can actualize, which is the way he describes it. And so you got at a base level, it's sleep. He's like, if you don't sleep, you can never achieve anything else.
Yeah.
Then after that comes security. So if you feel safe,
Yeah.
if you feel like you're going to be attacked, then you can't actually get beyond that. You can't get to living. You know, that is such a present sort of aspect of your reality that you have to overcome it. You have to feel safe before you can move on. So you got sleep, security, and then belonging.
Yep.
So you got to feel like you're actually a part of something. And if we're looking at this, like referencing that against education, you know, where you feel on the outside or misunderstood or so the belonging might not even play a part in, you know, you might not be able to get there, and you definitely won't be able to get there if you haven't had sleep or security.
Yep.
And then belonging, and then the last one, which I think is very difficult, is loving yourself. And so it says that after you've got through belonging, then you've got to love yourself. And then once you get to that stage, then you can actualize, then you can kind of realize your potential. But you have to have those 4 in place. And I buy into it. I mean, there's argument actually. Maslow, when he was at MIT, and so he did his degree there, and then I think he was a professor there as well. And he said that at the university at his time when he was first developing that, not a single student at the university had got beyond that, didn't actually genuinely love themselves. And then maybe people can only kick in when you're like,
how's he
45,
defining
50.
loving oneself?
I think it's like loving the things that you do. So like loving your actions. So it's kind of saying that if you do something, you can be behind that in every sense. And the way that you express yourself and the way that you interact with the world, you've got to be able to like that about yourself.
But what if you like yourself, but you're actually
a dick?
Yeah. No, but I mean, like, in less robust language. But like, what if you're putting out crappy stuff into the world? But like, it's okay. I love myself. It's fine. Like, it's had. It seems quite nebulous.
But it doesn't. This is a personal thing. And I know that your social interactions come into that massively. And maybe if you love yourself in the wrong way, then the belonging element is
it's going to start fraying, isn't it?
And then the security most definitely. Then you won't be able to sleep.
Yeah.
But no, I think that essentially the way that you interact with your environment is all very based on this idea of you having a connection to yourself. And so maybe loving yourself is more about kind of understanding yourself, your actions, and then the way that you fit into your environment.
Yeah, perhaps loving the direction you're going in life. Like,
massive part.
You know, like the sort of when they, rather than asking people, are you happy? It's like, because, well, I was this morning, I'm pissed off with something now, and I might be happy later on. I might bump into someone, then I'm happy. It's like, no, how do you feel your life is going? Like, are you going in the right direction? Is it going as well as you expected? Are you moving forward with meaningful work? Like, it's, the sense of belonging, I think, is so enormously important, and it can get frayed with music, because like I spend a lot of time on my own, and you do as a producer, you spend enormous amounts of time on your own working on a piece, but then to go into an environment of sort of enormous belonging, so it's like a sort of real peaks and troughs, and it can be a bit of a mind warp sometimes.
But I think that that last point, that loving yourself, can give you the connection between it all. And I don't know, it's like it's not a narcissistic thing.
No.
You know, you because we use that in a negative way, like that person really loves themselves.
Yeah.
But actually, if you don't love yourself, the chances are you're either indifferent about yourself or you hate yourself. Do you know what I mean? And are those two better than loving yourself? It's like, you know, that's horrific. And I've certainly gone through stages of that myself. I've certainly been, you know, trapped in my own thoughts for an entire day, where I just kind of like beat myself up about the most ridiculous things, and like these hypothetical environments that are kind of spinning off that don't even, they're not real. Or I've gone through stages in the mornings, often it's like that, where you just kind of beat yourself up for 20 minutes. You're like, well, there's absolutely no point in me doing that at all. And hopefully you can get yourself out of it. I've been actually doing like, I've been trying to do like my 10-minute medi in the morning. That's been amazing. it's been absolutely amazing for me to stop doing that. But yeah, it's how comfortable you feel inside yourself, and that your decisions are right, and that you're not constantly attacking yourself for who you are.
Yeah. What about loving who you can become? Like loving who you're going to be tomorrow, and then the next day,
the
tomorrow again. So it's that continued sort of repetitive iterations of a model to get better and better and better. You know, pursuing forwards.
But I suppose you don't have any control over the future, and that's a big thing about the meditation. Is it's like you are in the moment. And actually, you there's no point in beating yourself up about what happened yesterday.
Well, certainly,
you can't control it, or getting worried about what's going to happen tomorrow because you can't control it.
But you can prepare. You can prepare for the flood. You know, the floods will come. And
you can build your boat.
You can build your ark. No, but I mean, you know, it's a good metaphor in a way. Like, you know, if you haven't built your ark and the floods come, hey, you know, you're in a pickle. But you know, if you're working on that ark, the flood will never come because you're already in your ark, so you don't even know that the flood's there. Whereas to someone who's not built that ark, they've been washed away.
They're flapping around doing doggy paddle.
Yeah, exactly.
Looking for the dove.
Yeah.
Come on, help me.
Yeah. You're out there just eating olives, just flapping it out with... Where are all these animals here? Why are there two of everything? This is going to create a rough gene pool. Yeah. Well, now we're back to Outlook boat parties.
Yeah, perfect, mate. Yeah, lovely. I like that.
We got off a bit of a tangent.
Yeah, it's a nice segue.
Yeah.
Well, should we talk about our boat parties?
Yeah, good.
They're lots of fun. I'm doing a boat party on the Thames in a couple of weeks.
Oh, really? Can I come?
Of course you can, mate. Yeah, please do.
It's
you just go to soundcrashmusic.co.uk /
And how much are tickets?
No, I don't know whether it's sold out or not. I think there's a couple of there's a handful of tickets left. So we're doing a boat party on the boat called the Golden Jubilee, which is going down the Thames.
I've heard of this boat.
Yeah, it's cool.
Is it a notorious party boat?
I think so. Yeah.
I feel like I might have done a bang face. No, something on it. yeah, maybe.
Wow. Yeah. So it leaves from out the back of Somerset House.
Okay, yeah.
And then, and goes
nice.
off in there. So we're doing that with the Next Men.
Yeah.
And DJ Vadim and Kiko Bunn and Gardner are coming on it as well.
Yeah. Have you got time left, or like you've got to be somewhere, haven't you?
I've got to get a train to Hereford, at some stage. But I'm just gonna clock this. Have you ever? Oh, I did share it. There we go.
Because I've got a few more things I want to actually talk to you about.
Go on. Yeah. Ask me some legit questions, man.
Yeah. Well, I want to know about this album with the Next Man.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's a nice little conduit there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Conduit. That's a nice little segue into it. So we've done this album with the Next Men.
Yeah.
I was massive fans of them.
I've been a big fan of them for a long time as well.
It was wicked, and because I love my British hip hop, and that whole like sort of reggae heavy sound system influence into it was a big part of it for me.
Yeah.
And so it was a mate of mine, Eddie Rankin, Ed Thomas, who's a songwriter and who's worked with Brad from the Next Men in like a pop sort of songwriting production sort of environment. But Brad was like, I play this tune high grade in my sets, and so he was like, I know the guys and I should link you up in the studio. And so we just went in for a day. We wrote like 3 tunes. There was 4 of us, and there was Toby and I. Toby's a bass player. I did the vocals, and then the 2 of the Next Men together. We literally did so much music just in a short period of time. We're like, this is wicked. Let's do an album. And so we did that with them, and it's called Pound for Pound. It's out on the 22nd of June. Both parties on the 23rd.
So this is on. You've got a pledge. Music thing going for it as well. There's a few days left on that, I saw.
Nice, you are on top of it.
Hey, come on, I'll try and do my research.
You give the impression that you don't know what you're doing. And
there's the old false sense of security.
Look,
I've got that whole George W. Bush thing going on. Secretly, I'm organising 9/11.
I'm checking the pledge campaign right now. We're on 93%. And we got 5 days left. So the way that we did this one was we went to...
And how would people find this pledge?
Just check it out. It's like, just go to our Facebook page, like the Gentlemen's Love Club Facebook page, and like every post that we've done for the last 3 weeks gives you a link to the pledge page, or Google will do it equally well. But we wanted to put this album out ourselves. We've never really done that before. We did it with some of our old albums through Ranking Records, which was a label that... our manager and our bass player had set up. But for this one, with the next one, we were like, let's just do it ourselves. And there's we got a small level of investment from Cobalt,
Right.
who are like, it's kind of like a new label services. For anyone that doesn't know about it, it's a slightly new model for releasing music. I think it's really cool. So you kind of go in and you pitch an idea, you pitch a campaign idea, and then they tell you how much they're willing to put into it. From nothing to, I think, hundreds of thousands of pounds, depending on how much they think they're going to make back. And so they gave us a little bit, and then we were able to put it together. But we were like, right, let's try and engage people in the physical aspect of it, because this is so much of the music now seems to just be there and then gone. And actually, you need that physicality to make a bit more of an impression. And so we're like, we desperately want to get vinyl into people's hands. And we know that more people have got record players nowadays than they did 5 years ago.
Yeah,
so
which is amazing, isn't it?
It's brilliant. So like we printed, so we sort of pre-ordered a load of vinyl, and then we're like, but let's put it up on the pledge page first. And so we're 93% there, we're almost there, we've got 5 days left, we're going to check it out. But the album's wicked. So we got like we've never worked in this way before. For me, it was cool to write in a different style with new producers and and it kind of really got me it really got my sort of like creative juices flowing. It's wicked. I'm really happy with how it sounds. But we collaborated with Eva Lazarus, Gardner, Kiko Bun, J-Man, then we got in Charlie Tuna from Jurassic 5.
Oh, yeah?
He's on a tune. Yeah.
Nice.
P. Diggs from Shapeshifter. He's on a tune. Same one with Charlie Tuna. Holly Cook's done a tune. And then we got Dallas, Joe Dookie from Fat Freddy's Drop. He's on a tune.
Oh, wicked. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So it's like we'd never done a collab album like that before. And so, man, we're over the moon with it.
The one with Gardner, Rude Boy, is...
It's in a video.
Yeah, it's wicked. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was dope. So, yeah, we got that album coming out, and then we got another album out, actually. We're not sure 100% exactly when it's going to drop, but we got our own solo album that we've finished now, and it's ready to go out.
Just a straight one.
Yeah.
Have you got collabs on it, or is it...
It's not normal, mate.
It's what?
It's not normal.
It's very mainstream, real middle of the road stuff. Is it? Have you got more features on it, or is it just you?
We got a couple of features on there. I don't know.
So you have on the last one, Lady Chan and
and we got Taiwan MC on it.
Yeah.
And then Parley B.
Yes, it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's nice. It's really fun working with other vocalists. But we're a live band first and foremost, and so we have to make sure that we can make tunes that we can perform live.
That's the thing. Like I remember. Do you remember the first Chasing Status album that had? It was. I mean, they had a different person on every.
With Duppy Man on
it. No, maybe it's the one after. More Than a Lot.
Oh, okay, cool. So I think was that on Hardware?
No, this is the one on. Was it on their label or was it on Ram?
Yeah.
Don't know, but they had Plan B on it and loads of other people, and they're like, oh shit, how are we going to do this live? We can't take this huge load of people out of this, and they had like videos of the
mate. That was Eddie who I was talking about earlier. That linked us up with Brad. He did Black and Blue. He sang on that. That's him singing on that.
Okay, yeah. Nice.
And so Chasing Status they released music before then, but it was all like Renegade Hardware stuff. It was like proper.
Yeah.
And you know the story about that tune Duffy Man, the Capleton tune.
Go on.
Where basically they didn't register it at all, so they were taking all the thing, and Capleton apparently came around with a gang and arms out.
Really?
Yeah. And he's got 100% of the royalties on that one.
Oh my god! Yeah, I think they also weren't paying too much attention to the lyrics in that song either.
Yeah, it's a bit off key, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah. Tiny touch. Got a bit of Radio 1 play though.
A lot of people don't understand what they're talking about, so I suppose that's a real advantage.
Yeah.
I was listening. I won't go into the detail, but I was listening to a video that was made the other day for a big project I'm involved in, and it's like. Big like international company with lots of different decision makers all over the world, and this video being signed off all the way through, and I was like at the very end of it they were like, let's check that video, and it's a really good video. I was like, how come you got that bit in there about a guy smoking weed all night? And they were like, what? don't tell anyone about that. And I'm like, so obvious, mate. It's legit. It's so funny. I was like, all right, cool, don't worry about it. Just forget I said it.
I did some shows for Chrissy Chris when he has One Extra thing. He was getting people to do stand-in shows for him, and I did a few in there. And the girl, Emma, who was their producer, she had like the most razor-sharp ear for noticing lyrics and stuff because they were pre-recorded. And she's like... There's like a Foreign Beggars thing. And it's like, no, he says coked up on Black Hops. They're like, no, we have to cut that bit out and we'd get in there and edit it.
Did you play any of the Bukaki ski trip on that one? That was one of their albums for those that don't know.
Oh, God.
We're going through that at the moment. Mate, we've been asked to take over Rodigan's show.
Oh, really?
On One Extra, yeah.
Wow.
So Toby and I are doing that. I think it's the 9th of July it's out.
Oh, man, that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and so we're going through that at the moment. As in, like, we got... like 80% of our tunes sorted. We got to submit them in about 10 days or something. And then we've been listening to a lot of, because the One Extra audience who is very much a reggae and dub thing, but also they want us to put some dancehall in there and and so there's a lot of the dancehall that I know, on my memory stick, under the dancehall section is Johnny Osborne and, Johnny Clark, Shaka Demus and Pliers, that kind of vibe, Big Belly Man, do you know what I mean? And then but I don't listen to like Adelina and Spice and Busy Signal and Movado and people like I just don't listen to them, or Ding Dong. You heard of Ding Dong?
No.
Check them out, man.
Right, okay.
So we're listening to all them records, and I was like, I literally can't play this stuff. Like, there's not a single tune in here. Especially the more I've been getting into like teaching music and working with young people, and maybe it's just I'm really old and really boring, but I was like, some of it I'm just like, right, like that is the word, like it's so dark what they're talking about.
Yeah.
It really is, and I know it's entertainment, and I know it's all, you can't be blaming that for anything, but
it's a tricky line, isn't it?
I want to do a talk with and this is probably opening a can of worms between us, but I want to do a talk with a load of drill and grime artists and put them down with a couple of teachers and maybe a parent and have them discuss the idea of content and the effect that it has on young people, because I'm a freedom of speech guy, right?
Yeah, sure, same.
100%. I don't want anything to be censored in that way, because I really feel like as long as it's not forced on you, and people can do whatever they want, and you choose to buy into it or not. And I think it's really important for creative freedom to have those opportunities or have that flexibility. But I would love to have that conversation, where you can sit down and say, okay, cool, so your 13-year-old listens to 6-7, which is all about, gun violence, misogyny. It's reaffirming like old stereotypes, and you know what I mean, it's not particularly progressive, and then have that conversation. I think it'd be an amazing one to have. I mean, if you could you get a parent of someone who's lost a child to knife crime, sit down and have someone that makes that music try and explain, see if they can explain their way out of, oh no, we're not condoning violence. When what can happen is you've got someone on a track saying they're going to do X and X to a specific person. That goes up on YouTube. You have a load of people in the comments going, yeah, you've got to do that now. Like that, you said it, you've got to be a big man. Do it. And it happens. And then people are complaining about that getting taken off YouTube. It's I think it does technically violate freedom of speech laws in this country, because if you're condoning a specific act of violence, you can't do that. Like, I can't, obviously I don't mean this, but I can't say I'm going to kill you. That is not covered under freedom of speech. It's not cool, mate.
Yes, no. I'm not going to. I like you. I think you're all right.
And don't warn me either. Do you know what I mean? If you're going to go for it, wait until my back's
behind.
Just, so I suppose that is kind of quite an extreme example.
Yeah, but those things actually have happened.
And it's happened on Snapchat. I know, I get that.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're closed groups, sometimes they're public.
It's like the people commenting on it think it's like EastEnders or something. It's
Well,
not. It's real life. People are out there like shooting and stabbing each other.
But I grew up listening to Biggie Smalls,
Or Eminem.
you know, exactly.
Like,
and I'm not, you know, I'm not a murderer or
Yeah.
a rapist. You know, it didn't have any of it.
It's very I don't know how to feel about it. It's a really
Well, I think you have to. It's the freedom of speech thing. You have to say.
Yeah.
You have to step back and say, you know, people will do what they do,
Mm.
and as adults, I suppose you have the responsibility.
Yeah.
To try and protect those that are close to you and to understand where they're at. I mean, this might be a little bit out there. I don't know whether I've completely formed the opinion yet, but I was thinking about it recently where, like, our job is to protect the vulnerable, not to protect everyone. Because almost like the definition of being able to protect yourself, it means that you've got to do it for yourself.
Mm.
Do you get me?
Yeah.
You know, you've got to be able to build up your own sort of protective layer. So if you're watching, you know, a YouTube video, or you're seeing, you know, some pony politician, or, you know, you're seeing something, then you're able to judge that. You're able to protect yourself against that inputting into your brain rather than it getting into you and changing you.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to do that. But ultimately, it's not for the strongest in society. Those rules and those laws and those things, they're not for the strongest in society. They're there to protect the vulnerable.
Yeah.
And it's the vulnerable people that you have to be careful, you know. I mean, like, I was working at a school for naughty boys for 2 years up in Leeds, and I remember, you know, there was some really vulnerable people there, and the people that you could put an idea in their head and that could change them. You know, that really could. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into any detail, but I came into a room once, and there was a boy who got into the room. Their doors were locked. They were all locked. They were all like electronically locked, but he was stood in front of a picture of, who was the guy from films that had like the ice hockey mask on?
Jason.
Yeah, Jason. He was stood in front of, like, nose to the screen with this guy Jason, and like blaring metal music coming out, and he was so wound up and so like taken by this world. And this school that I taught at is so dark. By the age of 30, 75% of the pupils that went through this school were either dead or in jail. Three quarters.
That is a narky statistic.
Mental,
like,
it's absolutely mental. This is an extreme version of the PRU. So you got the pupil referral unit, and then you got an EBD school,
right?
Educational behavioural difficulty. And so it's like it's the last line before residential care, before you get taken away from your parents and having 24-hour care. And those are the vulnerable in society. And so we have to be mindful of it for those people. But that is where that's where the big argument sits for me.
It is, because
it's of the people.
It's a push-pull situation between, you know, trying to protect while also at the same time having to pull at someone else's freedom of expression, and it's a very tricky thing to try and traverse.
And also, you deal with your environment, don't you? So I was lucky. I grew up in a little. I'm not sure whether I was lucky or not, but I grew up in a village, right? So like, I could, if I went out and broke the law, or pissed someone off, or smashed someone's window, or kicked a football, you know, into someone's barbecue, there was only so much that could happen to me, right?
Yeah.
So I might get beaten up, I might get, you know, strung up by my boxers, you know, at the bus stop, or my mum would find out. But that's the worst that could happen. Whereas if I was like in amongst a lot more of a more volatile environment, or the police were closer to me constantly, then easily, for the stuff that I did when I was young, I could have got arrested, or, do you know what I mean? Or even worse, in terms of like my personal self being attacked. And so you've got these sort of completely changeable environments. You've got these different sort of reactions that we have. We all have to just live to our environment. We've got to protect ourselves, so we survive, or we don't. You know, and that is extreme in certain environments, and it's pretty pony in others, like where I came from. You know, there wasn't that much bad stuff that could happen to me. But yeah, I just think the way that we develop it, you know, you've got to throw someone into the deep end and see it sink or swim. Life is like that. But there's a slither of people that we have to be very, very aware of the impact that's having.
Yeah. That's where the hierarchy of needs starts to come in. If you can get, if you can get those initial things sorted, particularly to the point of belonging, and then, if you can go as far as to get that person to love themselves, then that's the protection, really, that they have their own agency, make up their own mind based on, and create good decisions, and,
They got all their chakras, right?
exactly, get the chakras mucked out, get the high pressure hose on them, really, polish those, bit of Mr. Sheen, polish those chakras
What are you doing out here all night? I'm just polishing my chakras.
I can see my face in them. You wouldn't believe. Yeah, and then you can start making some good decisions, and you get some and have some responsibility and meaning in your life.
Yeah, well, we're all searching for that, mate.
Well, that's the ultimate goal, isn't it? It's the once you've got the belonging, then look for the meaning. And it comes from responsibility.
That's when we actualize.
Yeah, I mean, you sound like you're doing great things with the working with the kids and the not-for-profit and all those things.
Yeah.
That's the meaning and the community and the responsibility that I think a lot of people lack.
Definitely, sort of deals with a different part of my psyche.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate in that sense. It's really easy to just sort of grow up our own arses and just go further and further into our fucking worlds, isn't it?
Yeah, I think also if you were to say to a lot of people, I think most people go and do something that will make you happy. I think people's first intuition would be to do something for themselves. I'll treat myself to buying some new clothes or something like that. But if you were to go, I'll go and help someone else do something or give a bit of my time to a cause, or I could help more people, you're more likely to actually glean happiness. So help others with a self-serving...
it is. You can look at it in that kind of a way, but giving is much better than receiving. I remember that from when I was young, at Christmas even, you got your round, I've got gifts to give. Those are the ones I'm excited about, not the ones that I'm getting. I mean, ultimately, you're getting half of what you're getting is irrelevant and probably not exactly what you're after anyway. And so, but the stuff that you're giving, it's that's taken me, it's taken me hours to work out and think about and work out.
When you've really put thought into a gift, it's wonderful.
I had when you were talking about that in terms of giving. So I feel like one thing that we're really, really lacking, and especially in London, but I think probably city and urban environments all over the world, is a connection to our environment, a social connection to our environment. So we might be socially connected online to people that we've met throughout our lives. We will be connected to our daily environments, the people we live with, the work that we go to, maybe the shop, whatever that we go to get our sort of morning coffee from, or whatever it is, your routine you come into contact with. But we also close ourselves off from our environment. I think we're protecting ourselves to a certain degree, whether that's ignoring that person on the street who genuinely needs your help, but you've seen them 2 days running, so you're not going to help them the second day. Yeah. Or whether that's walking home at night and feeling, scared by a group of people that are following you, or whatever it is. We've created this protective layer around ourselves, and I think it's really sad. And I think it drives and forces segregation down on our societies, and it means that we can be so calm and accepting of seriously unequal living standards, and they might be on our doorstep, but we choose not to see them. And so I've been thinking loads about that, because I think that in this kind of and post-religious kind of world that we're moving into, we're going to seriously lack a lot of the aspects that it used to bring to communities. And so I'm not saying that this is going to solve it, but I thought it would be cool to create an app called the Good Deed app, right? Where basically you decide how much time you have each week. And then within the app, it gives people then can go on there if they need any help or if they need any support in anything that they're doing. and then matches the two of you up. Because I think, you know, we all kind of, not all of us, but a lot of us would like to do more, but we've kind of got our own heads up.
We're not quite sure what to do as well. Like a little thing. I don't know. Well, where do I start?
Yeah.
What do I, it's like
See,
you feel like you're turning out to an earthquake with a dustpan and brush. Right, it's like, is there anything?
Time.
But also, I think people don't feel like that they are actually useful, and they are useful.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, I mean, in so many senses. Like, so that could be like going down to the nursing home. For a couple of hours on a Tuesday evening and then 1 hour on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And the impact that you will have is not just on the people that you're talking to, it's on yourself.
Yeah.
And your own sort of like, you know, feeling of self-worth and belonging, you know.
Yeah.
Part of that. And so I really think we need to desperately find more ways for us to socially engage. It goes back to the music thing. Music for me has been my driver. It's been my key driver throughout my entire life. If I'm going to go and do something, it's generally been because of music, you know, going to a festival, going to a gig, going to the studio, coming down here to chat to you. There's not much music about it, but but yeah, that's been the driver, you know, and so I've been lucky and fortunate in that sense. But if you don't have that, you've got to find it. You've got to see what it is, you know, how are you going to be able to do it? And it's scary, especially if you're living especially if you've moved 10 times and you're, you know, somewhere that doesn't have the easy fits that you had when you were young. It's like, we are facing a bloody epidemic, you know, it's a massive, massive problem that no one seems to be able to sort of ramp with and contend with.
Well, I think there's an issue of, we really biologically weren't designed to live in cities of millions of people. Like we're walking around in bodies that were designed for living in tribes of 100 or so people.
Apparently 83.
That's the number. Yeah. Like you see it in chimp populations where once groups start to get over that size, they start to go mad and then people chimps break away or fights happen and they get killed or whatever. But that seems to be the magic number. Well, we're hearing, how many people are there in London? 5 million or something?
I think there's more, mate.
Is it?
I think literally like
people just don't know how to deal with it. And so then that overprotective nature, like I'll keep my head down, I won't look, there's someone that needs help. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know whether or not I'll be able to connect with that person.
Affects you, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it really does. It really does, man. I literally did it the other day. And you know, I don't feel proud of it. Like I decided a long time ago that I was going to give a certain amount of money to shelter. Right when I first moved to London, I was like, this is dark. I'm going to see what I can do. I don't know how to help people out when I meet them, so I'm going to go to a charity. I'm going to give to that. Yeah. Right. But what that did to me was it gave me this like. Malcolm Gladwell talks about this in one of his podcasts, Revisionist History. It's amazing. He gives this idea of like, if we've done one good thing, we feel absolved, so then we can behave like a dick. Yeah.
It's like I used to call it becoming karma neutral.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so you give a load of money to charity, then you can go off and act like a twat.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, I'm going to pay to the like the World Wildlife Federation and then go to Africa and shoot one of the big five. It's literally like you're doing that. And the and so this happened to me the other day where I was on Stroud Green Road up in Finsbury Park, and I walked to this station and I was thinking about my own stuff, and I think I was, you know, had something that I had to kind of think through and this guy came up to me and he was talking to me and I actually just didn't engage with him. He was talking to me and I was like, no, sorry, I haven't got anything. And I was trying to do it in a sort of, you know, understanding way so he didn't feel like I was just palming him off. But I was never going to engage with him. I just I wasn't open to engaging with him. And then I got on a bus, I sat down, I started to feel bad that I hadn't interacted with him. And I probably did have a couple of quid in my pocket. And I looked out the window and he was crying on the floor with his head in his hands. And I just thought, like, Jonathan, what the hell has happened to you? Like, how could you literally turn your back on that person? Like, I was like, oh, thank God the bus is here, so I'll get on the bus and get off. It's like, that is so dark. It's like if I'd looked back, or in the future, if I look back on that person, or in the past, if I look back on that person, like, I would be disappointed in myself, as I felt really sad. And it took me a long time to get over it because, you know, it really, really affected me. And I can feel absolved partly by saying, well, it's our environment and everyone's like that and but it doesn't change the fact that had made a big from a selfish point of view, that made me feel very fucking stressed out and sad.
Yeah, I mean, if you can use it as a line in the sand to then go, well, because of this, I'm gonna do better in that way. I will give more, help more, try not to let it happen again.
But yeah, we just got to try and find ways.
It's too easy to just be like, look, I'm in my own little. I've got my stuff to deal with. It's difficult because it's like, well, you have to pick your things because there's so much that if you start to try and do everything, I mean, whether it's like, wow, there's a lot of plastic in the ocean, and then there's, we're going through however many species a year, and it's
also it's all so much of that is based on fad. It's not saying that any of that is wrong. So much of it is based on fad as well, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
They no one believed in global warming until they connected it to CFCs. It was too out there. No one could really understand it. And then they're like, no, it's your spray, your deodorant. Yeah. It's what's messing up the ozone layer.
So is that hole in the ozone layer gone now? Is it all healed over?
It's actually getting smaller.
Yeah. Because you don't hear about it so much anymore, if at all. Or is it just not hot news?
I think that what they've done is they've taken the plastic from the seas and they've filled in the...
Hey, if you can work out how to do that, there you make some money. Right, some of that proper big yacht money. And you wouldn't have to speak to anyone.
I wouldn't have to go and hire out the Golden Jubilee, mate.
Just be living large. Yeah, right. Well, last thing, you've done a sample pack for Loop Masters.
Yes. I'm really happy to be. I think Loop Masters are wicked. I've always seen the kit, and I'm a pretty rudimentary producer, but when I have downloaded the packs, I've always been really into it. So I was really keen to speak to the guys. One of the festivals we do, Dimensions, is I suppose it embraces world music. It's slightly more on the house, techno, and diverse electronic sense. And we work a lot with artists from around the world, South America, it's a lot from East Africa at the moment, and around Europe and Asia. So we are really keen to get into this area of linking musicians with producers. So there's a massive lack of originality, I think, in production a lot, isn't there? And so I'd love to be able to find a way of giving musicians a real G up, and an extra source of revenue, and producers the ability to collaborate and get original sounds and samples into that. So we contacted Loop Masters. We said we got an idea. So we worked with a couple of amazing musicians. So like Sarah Tandy, who's part of the sort of London jazz scene at the moment, which is incredibly exciting, and then Hamady, who's a drummer from North Africa, who's really into Cuban rhythms. And sort of has them deep in his heart. So we went down to the studio, recorded them, building up the sample pack at the moment with loops in there and hits, and then that sample pack's going to be available on Loop Masters for download, and we're launching this competition, and so it's essentially doing a tune based on that pack.
Yep.
And I'm just going to get the dates for the competition up. Big up to Kerry on that one.
Is the pack done now? Is it finished?
Pack's not up yet, but we've got through the organisation and the editing parts of it and everything like that. So we're just putting the final touches to the campaign. We're gonna launch it out on the 26th of June.
Yeah, nice.
And then you've got just over a month to then put a tune together based on those beats. And then the winner, we're gonna fly them and a friend out to Croatia to go to Dimensions Festival as an artist. So we're they'll get their artist wristband, they'll have that access on site, they'll be staying with them and and so we're hopefully going to offer an opportunity for someone who maybe hasn't had the pedestal to be able to then go and sort of network and get these sort of professional development opportunities. And so it's cool.
Nice.
It's going to give us, and then where we want to go with that, like I said, is to really work within this space of musicians, real musicians, People who have spent years and years and years of their life perfecting their craft, and mixing them with producers who often don't have those skills or those motor skills to be able to create original sounding sort of elements to their tracks.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be a really wide multi-instrumentalist. Well, you can be, but they're pretty rare.
Yeah.
You know, be able to, I can play amazing keys and I can also do these really amazing South African drums. Sorry, what's happened here?
Yeah, there's a few of them out there, but like generally they're not very good with sun and
only come out at night.
conversation.
Yeah, that's a hell of a prize.
Yeah, it's wicked, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really nice. I mean, like we've been discussing, like I'm massively into working with developing musicians and developing artists, and the festivals are like a really cool pedestal to offer, because I remember what it was. I remember the first festival gig that we got, and I was buzzing about it.
Yeah.
It literally had changed my life.
What festival was it?
Actually the first proper festival we played with a band was Glastonbury, strangely
Really?
enough. Yeah, it was with Chai Walla, but we did a couple up north as well when we were in Leeds. Lime Fest, or is it Lime Fest or Lemon Tree? Or no, Lime Tree, sorry.
Right.
Lime Tree, and a couple up north. Anyway, the first festival I ever went to, though, which is what came to mind really, was I was in a theatre show. In another life, I used to do theatre.
Right.
And this was like a pretty weird, like physical theatre show. And we went to Latitude Festival.
Oh, nice.
And that was really the first festival that I performed at, which was amazing.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool festival, actually. It's one of the ones that I've always wanted to go to, but somehow I've never got to.
Mate, you really should.
Yeah.
It was the beautiful thing about it, is, it was one of those experiences that we were talking about earlier, just kind of like cutting ties with reality and then setting yourself loose. But yeah, I remember like hours and hours by the lakes there, sort of, seeing all the trying to count the multicolored sheep and yeah. Anyway, so we don't have any sheep on site, but there's certainly lots and lots of colours to enjoy.
Yeah. Amazing. Dude, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Well, absolute pleasure, man. Yeah, big up.
You too. Cheers, dude.